Good afternoon and welcome to Channel 44. I'm Mercy Gashegu Sembata to bring you this afternoon's business news together with Livingstone Kawesi for sign language interpretation and translation. We'll start with our local business news. Civil society organizations have tasked the government, especially government institutions, to intervene the current controversies surrounding the COSASE on its poor performance, as it is alleged in by the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Monk. Last week, the Speaker of Parliament blasted the COSASE committee chaired by the Nakawa Member of Parliament, Joel Senyonyi, for its poor performance, saying that the committee has already considered 4 reports out of 107 entities which were audited by the Auditor General, and therefore the Speaker, Anita Monk, called for an audit in the performance of the Parliament's Committee on State Authorities and State Enterprises. Well, according to Peter Wandera, the Executive Director at Transparency International, Uganda mentioned government agencies like Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, a Criminal Investigation Department, and Inspectorate of Government, saying such entities can also be brought on board to help and do the investigation. Wandera believes that Parliament should have a better way of supporting the existing committees like COSASE, since they are playing a critical role of fighting corruption, adding that effort to end corruption in this country requires multiple agencies than relying on one.
Committees are having meetings in regard to the budget, and they are considering the budget framework paper. And as it was communicated last week, we expect the members of the sectoral committees to present their reports to the budget committee by tomorrow. They should have even started by today. By 20th, they should have finished. And we do expect the budget committee to start presenting to this House on 25th of this month, such that by 1st, which is a constitutional date, we should have finished a debate on the budget. We should debate the budget framework paper coming from the budget committee and look at all aspects one by one, not taking it as omnibus. It is our responsibility to ensure that we have an efficient and a well-processed budget. And once we do that, we should be able to have the budget approved by this House. Honorable members, when you look at the order paper today, most of the items that are on the order paper are issues on accountability. They are coming from committees of accountability, that is PAC Central, PAC COSASE, and PAC Local Government. For us to be able to complete the accounting cycle, we must have a report from all these committees presented to this House. And for you to start another accounting cycle, another budgeting cycle, all this must be presented to the House, approved, before you go to the next. However, I am disappointed, we are disappointed. Most of the reports have not been concluded.
The first one is legislation, they have to make laws. Second one is appropriation, they have to apportion the budget. Then the third one is oversight. They should ensure that money budgeted for is spent according to plan and is spent within the budget and it's spent lawfully so that it benefits the people of Uganda whom the Parliament represents. And on its oversight role, they have made it easier for their work, that they have these various committees like PAR, COSASE, etc. Committees are doing their work which was assigned to them. Mainly to look at some of these reports that are coming from the Auditor General's office, and also to look at the various projects that are being implemented by government, and also looking at anything new coming in, any proposal, etc. They have that authority to provide that third eye. But when you have a scenario whereby it seems their work is not being appreciated, where we find that actually even within Parliament there's negativity to their reports, there's a push against their reports. It's a bit unfortunate, because we would assume that as Parliament, once an accountability committee produces its report, it's debated on the floor of Parliament, and we have clear way forward on how the recommendations should be handled.
Well, in a related development, a section of Ugandans from both the private sector and civil society organization has spoken about the current controversies surrounding the National Social Security funds, and they want thorough investigations to be done and people whether their money in the Social Security Fund is safe. Juliet Akero from the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group says the current issues at stake in SSSF involve a lot of politics and contradictions from both parties. The supervising ministries, like the Ministry of Gender and the fund NSSF, they say something which might not address the challenges at the moment, adding that once investigations are done, sanity will be restored. On the same note, Joseph Katumba, the Chief Executive Officer of Horizon Property Consultant and a banker, revealed how he's not pleased with the current NSSF fund not being one of the savers, and called upon the political arena to stop interfering with the role of the board. Katumba further hinted on the current conflicts between the Speaker of Parliament and COSASE committee chaired by Honorable Joel Senyonyi, and asked the Speaker to give more time to the committee to execute its duty, something that he thinks will generate harmony in the Parliament.
Akelo is my name, and I work with the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group as an economist. On the issue of COSASE committee and then the Speaker of Parliament, we note that there is a bit of disagreement in terms of what the committee has done and what the Speaker is saying. But our take mainly is that as far as the performance of COSASE is concerned, going by what the Speaker is saying, that the COSASE committee has not performed, we think that most of the committees that are given work do according to the magnitude of work that they have been given to do. And so it depends on what exactly in terms of investigations they're supposed to do. But then what matters mainly is the recommendations that the committee has given. Those are very critical, because then at that point we know that these recommendations have been given by the whole committee, they subscribe to it, and so the different agencies will pick up from there. Those recommendations are good enough for us to have a start and then a conclusion on how far we go. There is a lot of discussion, there is a lot of contradictions in terms of the discussions surrounding NSSF. I would prefer that the very investigations that Parliament can do regarding NSSF should be undertaken. because then if there are so many contradicting facts that are coming through, it confuses the public. Of course, we know that NSSF works a lot with people's income. They're the custodians of people's incomes, and then of course they invest on behalf of the people, and many times the interests are actually benefited from by the workers themselves, which is okay. But then when there are controversies like that, we know that several people are going to be affected, and if the facts are not straightened, then it becomes an institution that loses trust and confidence from the personalities, and I mean from the workers.
Joseph Katumba is my name, and I'm a banker by profession, and I'm the CEO of Horizon Property Services, currently employing over 50 people. I can actually assure you that what I'm seeing with the Speaker of Parliament is really unbecoming, because ideally, if COSASE was actually set up to investigate issues of corruption, then she needs to leave the committee to work independently and provide reports. In fact, recently I heard that it's called Joel Senyonyi, yes, the chairperson of COSASE, that is not performing very well in terms of releasing reports, but himself he came out and explained to the committee, to the Parliament, that it's the Speaker of Parliament who is hindering the whole process of bringing out the reports. So basically, my suggestion would be that the Speaker of Parliament gives time to the COSASE team to investigate, and then give them a platform to expose whoever is involved in corruption.
Well, that's what's happening in the world of business, and still in the business world here in Uganda. It's nearly a year since the former governor of Uganda, Professor Tumusime Mutebile, passed on at the age of 72 years. Professor Mutebile was the longest-serving central bank governor of Uganda and a renowned economist, who many Ugandans described as an exceptional economist and a committed worker, known to be an influential figure in fighting inflation, liberalizing forex exchange and privatization, which saw the growth of the private sector in the country. Yesterday, hundreds of people, including family members, friends, government officials and people from the business community, attended a memorial service at All Saints Church in Nakasero in memory of the late Mutebile. Various people spoke about the former governor, including business tycoon, who is also the country consulate to Nepal's Dr. Sudhir Paredia, who noted that Professor Mutebile is one of the best economists Uganda has ever had, stressing how he was a very instrumental figure in championing the promotion of free market economy in Uganda. The former member of parliament for Kisoro district, Sam Bitangaro, had also extended his tribute to the former governor, describing him as a good man. Meanwhile, State Minister for Trade Honorable David Bahati, one of the members of parliament for Greater Kigezi, said that the former governor deserves all the tribute due to his generosity, having supported many people not only in his village but the country at large, adding that that he was a very disciplined man who was good at working with all people, and above all acknowledged his contribution towards the economic transformation of the country.
Emmanuel Mutebile was one of the best economists this country has ever seen. He is the father of opening of the markets and of the liberalization of the foreign exchange in this country. And he has been very instrumental in the free market economy. We will miss him.
He left a very good foundation that his successors are able to build on that foundation. So I do not think Elizabeth, one that was a super economist, fantastic economist. He was a formidable leader in financial matters, and very, very, very good person in terms of human relations. Contributed a lot to charitable causes, and we shall forever remember him for that.
Today we were celebrating the legacy of Professor Mutebi, remembering his contribution he made as a governor, the central bank, in our economic transformation of the country. We remember him as a person who was very generous, made a lot of contribution to the community, to our country, and touched many lives. We also remember him as a disciplined man who was loyal to the president, was loyal to the people he worked with, and mentored many. So we are very grateful to God that he gave us Professor Mutebi for all this time, and we thank God for his legacy. There are a number of lessons we learn from his life, lessons of discipline, lessons of generosity, lessons of when you are given an opportunity to work as though you are working for God, not for humans. And I think that was a guiding principle that guided him on all his work.
Well, may his soul continue resting in peace. We'll now look at today's fuel prices. If you are a motorist and you're wondering where to buy your fuel and at what price, we bring you the current fuel prices mainly from major fuel pumps in the city. Moving on, it's time for our international business news highlight. Twitter is being sued by the Crown Estate over alleged unpaid rent for their London headquarters. The estate, which oversees property portfolio belonging to the King, filed claim against Twitter in the High Court in London last week, according to the Reuters news agency. The alleged areas relate to office space near Piccadilly Circus in central London, and the social media giant has not responded to requests for comment. It comes after Elon Musk, the world's second richest man, paid $44 billion to take control of Twitter in October last year, before slashing more than half of the firm's global workforce of around 7,000. The Crown Estate took legal action after previously contacting Twitter about rental areas over office space at Eyre Street. The estate is one of UK's largest landowners, and an independent commercial business generating profit for the Treasury for public spending. The monarch is then given 15% of the annual surplus of the estate, known as the sovereign grant, to support official duties. And still about Twitter, Elon Musk has told a court that he believed he had enough backing to take Tesla private at the time he issued a controversial tweet. The boss of the electric car company is on trial after investors claimed that the 2018 tweet cost them millions of dollars when a deal did not go ahead. Mr. Musk claimed that he had met with a Saudi Arabia sovereign wealth fund who indicated they would support a deal. He added he would have sold his stake in rocket firm SpaceX to raise the money. Mr. Musk is accused of defrauding investors after he tweeted on the 7th of August 2018 that he had funding secured to take Tesla private at $420 per share, and that the investor support is confirmed. Moving on, it's been almost a year since workers at an Amazon warehouse in New York voted to start the company's first ever labor union in the US, a historic labor victory that won global attention, but the fight remains unfinished. Amazon has been battling the outcome of the election in legal actions. Efforts to organize workers at other warehouses, including one just across the street, have failed. Negotiations with the company over a labor contract for the warehouse workers have yet to start, and when they do, are expected to take years. Former Amazon worker Chris Smalls, who started the union after the company fired him during the pandemic, takes the lack of progress in his stride. Earlier this month, regulators finally certified the victory of Amazon labor union at JFK 8, the warehouse on Staten Island that employs roughly 8,000 people. And Microsoft has announced a multi-billion dollar investment in artificial intelligence as it extends its partnership with OpenAI. OpenAI is the creator of popular image generation tool DALL-E and the chatbox ChatGPT. In 2019, Microsoft invested $1 billion in the company founded by Elon Musk and tech investor Sam Altman. The Windows and Xbox maker plans up to 10,000 redundancies, but said it would still hire in key strategic areas. Breaking the news in a memo to staff last week, Chief Executive Satya Nadella said the next major wave of computing is being born with advances in artificial intelligence. Announcing the extended partnership, the firm said it believed AI would have an impact on the magnitude of the personal computer, the internet, mobile devices, and the cloud. Well, we'll now take a very short break and look at today's foreign exchange rates. I will return with more international news. Stay with us. In the United Kingdom, government borrowing hit a new high in December, driven by the cost of supporting households with their energy bills and rising debt interest costs. Borrowing, the difference between spending and tax income, was £2.7 in the most for any December since records began in 1993. Interest on government debt hit £17.3 billion, more than doubling in a year. The Office of National Statistics, ONS, said inflation was the main factor behind the rise in borrowing. While gas have begun to come down, the typical UK energy bill is still almost twice what it was before Russia invaded Ukraine. And finally, Pakistan has suffered a huge cut following a breakdown on its national grid, leaving millions of people without electricity. Power was out in all major centers, including the biggest city of Karachi and the capital Islamabad, as well as Lahore and Peshawar. Power Minister Kurum Dastagir said the grid failure followed a frequency variation in southern Pakistan. Electricity had still not been restored in many areas as night fell yesterday. Pakistan often suffers from power cuts which are blamed on mismanagement